books do have some positives. First of all, they're inexpensive. For under 30 bucks, you can get everything an expert has to say on the topic of motorcycling. This is John Delvecchio, author of Cornering Confidence and riding coach at the Street Skills Motorcycling School. The Street Skills Moto Show focuses on the most fun part about riding, the corners. I'll be sharing highlights from my book, situations that come up in my courses, and I'll even break down my own personal motorcycling experiences. Please subscribe and click on the notifications bell below to get the latest videos first. Guys, books kind of suck. Why? Well, first of all, they're one-way communication. We read a book, we see images, and we can't really get follow-up questions if we have them. Therefore, it's easy to misinterpret something you read in a book, especially something like a motor skill or we're going to perform some physical activity. We don't have anybody to watch us to make sure we're doing it correctly. And people generally just don't like to read. Books do have some positives. First of all, they're inexpensive. For under 30 bucks, you can get everything an expert has to say on the topic of motorcycling. Another great thing about books is they're easy to get, and it's always available. These books that I've had for a very long time, and anytime I wanted to pick it up, I could just grab it. You read it over and over again. And typically, the authors write for magazines or hold courses on their curriculum. And in fact, all of my major influencers do have courses you can take. So they're really good primers for instructional events if you were to take them. Another positive about books is that we can gain knowledge on subjects from experts who are unavailable to us geographically, or just they're busy doing other things. I've been privileged to get Lee Parks, Nick Einach, David Huff on the phone to talk to them about concepts. They've gone back and forth with me through emails. And sometimes you can ask them direct questions and they're happy to get back to you if they find the time to do that. I'm doing a book review series on the guys that influenced me the most as a motorcyclist and as I evolved into the coach I am today at Street Skills and the author of Cornering Confidence. When I prepared my curriculum and my book outline, I spent a lot of time combing through these experts' books to kind of trace back, do a little forensics on how I got my favorite techniques. What did I let kind of slip through the cracks? What did I hear them say that I really didn't use? Maybe I want to go back and try it again. But I had assembled all this in an organized fashion where I had basically a universal perspective on the highlights that these experts were trying to accomplish in their book. You may or may not like the concepts. They sometimes disagree with one another. But generally speaking, you can't read one book and figure out, I'm good, I did that, I'm over it, I'm better now. You have to read several books or watch videos. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. Now, you might not prefer certain techniques that I teach or that I talk about in the book, or you might get something totally different out of these books that I really haven't. But these reviews are my interpretation of what I think the authors were shooting for. In some cases, I've spoken to the authors. Other times, I've been left only with their words in print. Now, I'm focusing more on the techniques that I like, and I will try not to criticize the techniques I don't like, because others might find them useful. And that's a really important thing when you're teaching someone something. What you're saying for them to do may not really work for them. The books I'm reviewing in this series are advanced technique books, written by people sharing their discoveries on how to get more control riding at a faster pace. Some of their techniques directly contradict fundamental techniques. They may contradict another expert, but keep an open mind when you read any skills book. try not to shut yourself out of a certain thing because it goes against what you've been told or what you've read or you've been shown. Many of the techniques are considered advanced only because they build on fundamental skills. Think about this. If we included everything in the motorcycling world in a basic training course, you would cause such information overload to the students that they'd actually leave with less riding ability. My mentor, Ron Hines, who runs Learn to Ride, when I became an MSF coach, one of the first things I remember him telling me is, when you're working with these students, you cannot try to fit 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. Now, for sentimental reasons, I picked up a book off my shelf. This was the first book I read after I got my motorcycle license in 2001. The Complete Idiot's Guide to Motorcycles. And I was an idiot. I didn't know really a whole lot about motorcycles. And a book like this, something similar, is a good start if you're going to pick up your first motorcycle book, because it gives you kind of a broad view of what it's like to own a motorcycle and ride a motorcycle and be a motorcyclist. And so I would say, pick up something like this. Once you finish maybe that introduction book or whatnot, or you could skip that one and go right to the next two, I would suggest reading what I would call an encyclopedic riding book. And the first one would be Proficient Motorcycling. This should be at the top of your list. Initially, I got this from the library, and I read it until I wanted my own copy. Proficient Motorcycling by David Huff. Now, this, like I said, is more like an encyclopedic book where it's going to sort of explain a little bit more how a motorcycle works, basic things about how it turns, street strategies. And I'm really not going to go through it in detail because it's all in here. This is sort of like the foundation knowledge of any motorcyclist. If you're serious about riding and you haven't read Proficient Motorcycling, what are you waiting for? Go to Amazon right now and buy it. Now, what David Huff couldn't fit in his original book, he wrote a second book, kind of a follow-up book. This is more Proficient Motorcycling, Mastering the Ride. So this is if you wanted to get a little bit more of a detailed encyclopedic knowledge of information related to riding. So the books that I'll be reviewing in this series that had the huge impact on myself in the Street Skills curriculum are the following. Total Control by Lee Parks. Now, Twist of the Wrist 2 had some effect. I also have Twist of the Wrist, which it seems like this might be building on the first one. Twist of the Wrist itself is more of a racer's handbook, and it wasn't as applicable, so that one's going to be left aside. If you've ever wondered why there's the book number 2, I think this one was written more with the street rider in mind because the market for motorcycle racers isn't as wide, obviously. Smooth Riding, the Pridmore Way, awesome book. And of course, Sport Riding Techniques by Nick Einach. Again, these are the books that I would suggest that you read. I'll be kind of giving you these little reviews in future video episodes. And of course, my book, So Sometime Soon. Grab a cup of coffee, head down to the library, find a basic riding book, maybe purchase yourself a copy of Proficient Motorcycling and Master the Ride. Get through these books, and I'll have something ready for you to take your skills to the next level, ultimately with a book review on Cornering Confidence.